Zionists have been freaking out at the new Superman movie, trying to get it cancelled because apparently it's based on allegories of Israel and Palestine, with the baddies basically being Israelis. I had to check it out for myself because, Zionists make everything about them, but it blew my mind just how unsubtle and obvious the connections are. But not only that, it went way beyond the Israel-Palestine analogy. I was like, this guy's being treated like a Muslim. Okay, so let's talk about why everyone's saying this is anti-Israel, and then I'll explain why I'd go even further in my interpretation. So as you might already know, the story is centered around a fictional country called Bavaria trying to invade and kill people in a fictional country called Jarhanpur, something like that. Why are people saying that these crazy villains are obviously meant to be Israelis? Number one, the Bavarians are white with Eastern European sounding accents, just like Israelis are, ethnically Germanic and Russian colonial settlers in Palestine. The Jarhanpuris happen to be brown-skinned with beards and hijabs and all the stereotypical markers of Asians and Arabs. Number two, the Bavarians are allies of the United States, and Superman gets in a bit of trouble politically for stopping them killing the brown people, in spite of US foreign policy. Much like young protesters all over America are getting bothered and beaten up by authorities there. Number three, the Bavarians have high-tech weaponry and they're part of the military-industrial complex with big contracts with the American billionaire villain. They get billions worth of weapons from the West, and Jarhanpuris don't have as advanced technological weapons, defending themselves with stones and pitchforks or AK-47s if they're lucky. Number four, the film almost literally reproduces scenes from the 2018 Great March of Return, when Gazans took to a non-violent march towards the fence of the world's largest concentration camp and were gunned down by the Israelis. The resemblance is uncanny, almost certainly intentional, which has Zionists trying to cope all over the internet and get the film cancelled. Number five, the Bavarians have the same propaganda for invading and occupying their neighbors as the Israelis and the Western allies do. The propaganda pretext of freeing them from their oppressive rulers. One character echoes almost verbatim Israeli propaganda that the Jarhanpuris aren't innocent, echoing dehumanizing Israeli and Western narratives about Palestinian people, which thinkers like Muhammad al-Kurd and others call the perfect victim discourse. That for Palestinians to deserve dignity, respect and support, they must be perfect and flawless. Superman argues on their behalf. They don't need to prove themselves worthy of dignity and freedom and not being killed by Bavarians. Number six, it doesn't stop there. Their lunatic president looks like this, which many people are likening to Ben Gurion, the Polish terrorist ethnic cleanser with a disarmingly wacky haircut who became the first president of so-called Israel after bombing British soldiers, buildings and infrastructure in Palestine, becoming one of the architects of the Nakba, the mass killing and violent exodus of Palestinians from their land in 1948. The cherry on top is, this cartoon villain also sounds exactly like Milikowski, the current Polish ruler of Israel, known more commonly as Benjamin Netanyahu, to sound a bit more Middle Eastern. Anyway, here's where it gets personal for Superman. You see, when he interferes with the US's foreign policy, their media propaganda goes after him in overdrive. I literally laughed out loud when I saw the villain had an army of monkeys acting as trolls on social media, spreading misinformation. A hilarious depiction of Israel's infamous ministry of propaganda, so-called Hasbara, where they have legions and legions of people carrying out this misinformation warfare. And what were they spreading about Superman? All of the tried and tested Orientalist Islamophobic stereotypes, which is why I say he's treated like a Muslim. Hear me out, let me explain. Number one, they said he was sent to Earth to replace Earthlings. This great replacement theory is a staple trope of Israeli-funded far-right discourse in the form of the likes of Tommy Robinson, Douglas Murray, Michael Gove, GB News, and similar loonies that say Muslims are coming here to replace them. This propaganda goes all the way back to Fir'aun, by the way, but that's a topic for another video. Number two, hilariously, they say that he has lots of secret harems. Literally, they say this a few times, where he has lots of wives to produce loads of super babies to take over the world. Another ancient Orientalist stereotype. They even mention grooming, like 3 times, for crying out loud. He's grooming the world by being so nice, but he has sinister objectives. He even gets taken to Guantanamo Bay as a second-class citizen with no rights. Quick pause. Have you secured your ticket for the Islam 20 conference yet? If you care about your deen, your family, and the fight for truth, you need to be there. All in one day, packed with powerful talks, real issues, and practical solutions from leading scholars and thinkers. It's happening soon. Don't miss out. Grab your tickets now at islam20.com/conference. Right, now back to the video. Anyway, my head was spinning with all of these not so subtle allegories to Palestinians, but also to Muslims and their supporters across the world. Not to give too much away, but the baddies are, like Zionist supporters, literally prepared to watch the world burn in some kind of biblical Armageddon just so they can get their way. There are lots of other less obvious and subtle things as well. It reminds me of Chekhov's gun in storytelling. Chekhov's gun basically says that if you show a gun hanging on the wall in a story in Act 1, you'd better have it used by the end of the play to shoot someone. No detail should be accidental, but everything should be deliberate and worthy of reflection and interpretation. So what are some of the lessons? Number one, this is a huge cultural shift. We all remember when villains were Russians during the Cold War, Arab terrorists during the War on Terror, and a few other experimental identities here and there in between based on US foreign policy and soft power. The fact that an allegorical Israel is now the villain in a major Hollywood blockbuster hit of the summer is a significant cultural phenomenon. And it's not like other films in the past that have been successfully cancelled or blocked or made to fail at the box office. This film has broken records and is, as of today, the top grossing film of the year so far. Secondly, this isn't a story about Superman saving the day as an individual hero, but he and Lois Lane are inspiring other superheroes. Israelis might say radicalizing them, who turned their back on the genocide and ethnic cleansing in favor of their own comfort, but they were then convinced to stand up and help the Palestinians. I mean the Jahanpuris. This is a metaphor for what can and is happening across the world, inshallah. Israel and Zionism is in terminal crisis. It's impossible for people not to jump ship eventually. The question is, when, how, and who? And what role will you play in it? Will you turn your back on them until it becomes too unfashionable or too embarrassing? Or will you sacrifice for them like the countless heroes that have taken a brave stance? Another lesson is the fickleness of public opinion. So easily swayed by newspapers, mainstream media, and social media fed by monkeys enlisted to troll the tellers of truth, more and more people are waking up to their blind spots, especially since they've seen the same reasoning and catchphrases used to dehumanize people in the past: harem, replacement, grooming, and so on. There is a dark side, however. The Gazans, the last remaining bastions of true, unfiltered iman, resilience and humanity in the world, are still being targeted for some sickening sport while queuing up for food, with a British doctor saying just today that boys are being targeted in their heads, their abdomens and their testicles by snipers.
A game is being played that they're deciding to shoot the head today and the neck tomorrow and the testicles the day after.
The rulers of the Ummah have failed Gaza, and there's no Superman coming. We, the Ummah, have to rebuild civilization, a superpower that is based on something tethered to objective justice, that doesn't care about our familial, tribal or nationalistic interests, which is what Superman is a clear metaphor for. That's what this genocide and pretty much all of the crimes of modernity have taught us. This lesson is so important that we explain it here in more detail. Check it out.